Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
Himara Karuna Kara Vaishnava Gosai Patita Pavana Toma Dineke Henai Papa dure jai, he mana dayala prabhu, keva ko thapa, jahara nikate gele, papa dure jai, he mana dayala prabhu, keva ko thapa. Gangara parasa hele pasyate pavana darshana pavitra karo ei tumhara guna. Gangara parasa hele pasyate pavana Rachana Pavitra Karo Ekam Haristhane Aparade Kare Harina Tomasthane Aparade Nahi Paritra Vaishnava para Tomara Hridaya Sada Govinda Vishra Govinda Kahe Namora Vaishnava para Kavi Janme Kari Asha Charmera Dhuli Narotame Karo Daya Apanaravali Pradijan Me Kari Asha Charmera Dhuli Narotame Karo Daya Apanaravali यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंजाबिहारी श्री श्री राधा माधव की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की, नाम संकीर्तन की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सारजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिते नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरतुषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विज्वानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So we'll be reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrata. Chapter number 50, and the chapter entitled The Lame Man and the Blind Man. The Lame Man and the Blind Man. So Hare Krishna. So the scenario is this: Prabhupada is in Hawaii, and as usual, Prabhupada was every day translating Srimad Bhagavatam, and right now he is translating 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And when Prabhupada is doing so, 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, as usual, there are problems. So Prabhupada is writing a letter to all his GBC. My dear GBC disciples, please accept my blessings. Over the past 10 years, I have given the framework, and now we have become more than the British Empire. Even the British Empire was not as expensive as we. They had only a portion of the world, and we have not completed expanding. We must expand more and more unlimitedly. But I must now remind you that I have to complete the translation of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the greatest contribution. Our books have given us respectable position. People have no faith in the church or temple worship. Those days are gone. Of course, we have to maintain the temples as it is necessary to keep our spirits high. Simply intellectualism will not do. There must be practical purification. So in the British Empire it was said that the sun never sets in the British Empire because Britishers were ruling in so many countries of the world that as soon as there is a sun set anywhere, then it will be sunrise in some other country. So they would say sun never sets in the British Empire. And Prabhupada says here that no, we are more expensive than that because now ISKCON was practically in almost all the prominent countries on all the 6 continents. This is somewhere 1976 and so many followers. So Prabhupada says temples are needed for practical purification. So only intellectualism will not do. So I request you to relieve me of management responsibilities more and more so that I can complete the Srimad Bhagavatam translation. If I am always having to manage, then I cannot do my work on the books. It is document. I have to choose each word very soberly. And if I have to think of management, then I cannot do this. I cannot be like these rascals who present something, mental concoction, to cheat the public. So this task will not be finished without the cooperation of my appointed assistants, the GBC, temple presidents and sannyasis. I have chosen my best men to be GBC, and I do not want that the GBC should be disrespectful to the temple presidents. You can naturally consult me, but if the basic principle is weak, how will things go on? So please assist me in the management so that I can be free to finish the Srimad Bhagavatam, which will be our lasting contribution to the world. So Prabhupada expresses his desire to complete Srimad Bhagavatam, and we know Prabhupada could write his commentary till 10th canto. Yeah, 13th chapter, till 10th canto, 13th chapter. And after that, Prabhupada could not personally give commentaries, but he had that great desire to complete Srimad Bhagavatam, and we should have great desire to read Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like Prabhupada went through sleepless nights to write the Srimad Bhagavatam. From the point I started reading, just 2 paragraphs back, it is mentioned that Srila Prabhupada called his servant Harishwari Prabhu, and he told him that don't let anyone to come in. That was around evening 5 p.m. I want to translate today whole night. And then it is mentioned that from evening 5 p.m. till morning 5 a.m. Prabhupada was translating Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was very unparalleled contribution, Srimad Bhagavatam. So just like Prabhupada had such a great zeal and great devotion to write Srimad Bhagavatam, and he says this is something which is going to be the most important contribution. He writes here, most important contribution. Temple and churches, those days are gone. People are not so much interested. But books can go to their home. So we should have similar zeal to read and to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. While maintaining his excellent progress on Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada also got the opportunity in Hawaii to begin another book. His long-time disciple and editor, Hayagriva, wrote, asking to assist Srila Prabhupada in a series of interview commentaries on Western philosophers. This was the same project Prabhupada had begun with his former secretary, Shyam Sundar. But when Shyam Sundar had abandoned his duties in ISKCON, he had also misplaced the tapes and transcripts of the considerable work they had done together. Hayagriva proposed to start again, beginning with Socrates and Plato. The process would be that Hayagriva would present before Prabhupada a summary of a Western thinker's philosophy. Prabhupada would then respond extemporaneously, giving appreciation and criticism of the philosopher according to the Vedic viewpoint. So we can understand Prabhupada at the ripe age of 70 went to the West and trying to spread Krishna consciousness among those who are in Vedic terms called Malakshas or Yavanas and very uncivilized, no culture. And to such people, when Prabhupada was trying to spread Krishna consciousness to such people, we can see the situation that Prabhupada had to face, that he would preach them. And here it is mentioned about Shyam Sundar Prabhu that we know he was very pioneer in getting George Harrison associated with ISKCON and starting the whole London preaching program. But in later, like somewhere in 1975-76, he was not so much with ISKCON. There were always such kind of ups and downs. And we can imagine in those days when no mobile, no email, and Prabhupada is running a worldwide institution, and he has got sometimes such senior members who joined Prabhupada in 1967, 66 and then after, and he had a series of conversation with Prabhupada on various philosophers. At certain point of time, then he is no more active, and Prabhupada has to go through all this situation and still be enthusiastic to go on spreading Krishna consciousness, Still be enthusiastic to go on spreading Krishna consciousness. Similarly, Hayagriva Prabhu, who also joined in 1966, after some years he also left. But as we learn from Bhagavad Gita that Swalpam apasya dharmasya trayato mahato bhayat. Even if someone has done little devotional service, that becomes an eternal credit. So later on again, Hayagriva Prabhu comes back and he offers Prabhupada this, that we will restart those. It is recorded in a book. What is the name of that book? Beyond Illusion and Doubt. Beyond Illusion and Doubt, where Prabhupada takes different philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and this is all done, extemporaneously. And there is no preparation. He would just come, the Hayagriva Prabhu would just come with the philosophy of the other philosophers with their whatever they have to say. And Prabhupada would just speak spontaneously from the Vedic viewpoint, which is recorded in this book, Beyond Illusion and Doubt. Prabhupada and his disciples had been enthusiastic about the interviews done in former years, and Prabhupada had even titled the series Dialectical Spiritualism. But when Shyam Sundar had misplaced the tapes, the project had dissipated. Now, Hayagriva, the former college English professor and original editor for Back to Godhead in America, asked to be allowed to come to Hawaii for reviving the philosophy book and for spending time with Prabhupada. Like various other disciples, Hayagriva had given up strictly following the regulative principles. Srila Prabhupada had come to tolerate the reality that some disciples, even after taking vows of initiation, would be unable to resist the strong pull of the senses and would give up the path of active devotional service in ISKCON. In the early years, he and his followers had reacted with great shock whenever devotee had gone away. But with time, as the unfortunate event had continued to occur, sometimes even striking down leading, trusted disciples, Prabhupada had grown to live with it. But he never stopped feeling bereaved over a lost son or daughter, especially if that disciple had rendered him significant service. And he never withheld his affection for him or his open, loving invitation for them to return. So that was Prabhupada's very special mercy, that although some of these disciples could not very strictly follow the regulative principles and voluntarily chose to leave the society, Prabhupada was always welcoming them back, but they have to follow rules and regulations if they come back. But the doors were always open. You can always come back, accept Krishna conscious life, and follow rules and regulations. Prabhupada did feel bereaved, he did feel bad that someone is leaving, but Prabhupada also mentioned that we are in fight against Maya, and in this fight against Maya, certainly some soldiers will Just like in any battle, some soldiers die. Both the parties, even if any party wins, even the winning party, some soldiers die. So this ISKCON movement or this Krishna Sankirtan movement is fight against Maya, and we cannot expect that every soldier will remain alive. Naturally, some will collapse, some will die. Such a case was Hayagriva, a dear son who had come to Srila Prabhupada during the summer of 1966 in New York. He had given valuable service but have eventually been unable to follow the simple but strict principles of Krishna consciousness. Now, after suffering the vicissitudes of material life, he had gathered his resolve to come back to his beloved spiritual master. So, we see Hayagriva Prabhu joined in 1966, temporarily left but again come back. So that the impression of Krishna consciousness is so strong that even if somebody leaves, they cannot forget, they cannot give up. The philosophy is so strong. But the rules are simple, as it is mentioned, four regulative principles simple. One need not to be very complex to follow these rules, but at the same time one has to be very, very strict. One has to be strict. And it's very natural. What is natural is that if one is not able to follow rules and regulations, he won't be able to continue in society. He won't be able to, it's not that somebody will remove him, but naturally he will not be able to continue because the guilt from within and desire to enjoy more and more sense gratification, some or other not ready to follow rules and regulations, one will go away. But one who goes out, Maya kick is more strong outside. And then one repents more that no, it was much better to be devotees. Okay, I came out, I tried, and Maya kick is here more. In that case, we can learn from Prabhupada. Prabhupada was so welcoming, giving them all opportunities. So, okay, you come back, we will do one more book together to spread more Krishna consciousness. Hayagriva entered Prabhupada's room. It is your old Hayagriva, Prabhupada, he said, and he fell to the floor sobbing. Prabhupada gave him a garland and asked him how he and his family were doing. Now, in the presence of other devotees, Prabhupada related how Hayagriva had been sent by Krishna to help him spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. So Prabhupada was so welcoming and so warm in getting Hayagriva back. Instead of being sarcastic and telling, dekh liya, material world, tried, are you done? But understanding the mood of the disciple and his personal relationship, he was so warm and so welcoming and garlanding him and telling him he was sent by Krishna. It's a big word, sent by Krishna. Prabhupada is not saying that I preached you and made you devotees. It's so humble, sent by Krishna. When Hayagriva said that he had never forgotten Prabhupada even for a day, Prabhupada replied, and I also never forgot you. I was thinking, has Hayagriva gone away? I was thinking like that. Prabhupada's voice broke. His eyes filled with tears and he could not speak. Finally, he asked everyone to leave the room. Prabhupada and Hayagriva began meeting daily, sometimes for as long as 2 or 3 hours. Dialectical spiritualism was again underway, moving side by side with the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Hayagriva was again in his original position at Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. So that is the touch of a pure devotee. Somebody who has a touch of pure devotee cannot give up Krishna consciousness. There can be a temporary pause, but one cannot give up. And acharyas like Srila Prabhupada always claim such fallen souls. Although Prabhupada had written to the GBC requesting them to solve ISKCON problems, he continued to keep informed of the problems as his assistants reluctantly reported to him the bad news. One day, a telegram arrived from Madhu Visa Swami, a dynamic GBC man in charge of ISKCON in one region of the US. Madhu Visa was having serious difficulty remaining strong in Krishna consciousness. In most cases, The difficulties of Prabhupada's disciples were urges towards sensuality. Almost never did disciples turn against Prabhupada, nor did they often reject the philosophical conclusions of Krishna consciousness. They simply fell victim to Maya's allurements. So you know, Madhuvisa Swami was very instrumental in spreading Krishna consciousness in Australia, and Prabhupada glorified him a lot publicly in the lecture, he was a GBC. But again, the strong effect of Maya, that he gave up his sannyas and got married, and Prabhupada just got a telegram. So, you know, at one place Prabhupada has to translate books, at other place he has to manage 108 temples, and he is now almost 78 years old, almost 78 years old because, or 79 years old, this is somewhere 76, and 77 Prabhupada leaves his body, so he's 79-year-old, so we can imagine what kind of enthusiasm and vigor Prabhupada was having to still go on spreading Krishna consciousness, and never, and even if Prabhupada faced through this, he cannot go and tell, oh Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, what you have put in me this trouble, you know, as happy in Vrindavan chanting Hare Krishna, all this society, you know, disciples, followers, translating books, no peace of mind, you know, just trouble, 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 you know. You preach and people giving up, and then again more problems, and somebody's like a GBC gives up, that's like there's a big line of follower who is below the GBC being taken care. And that also gives up, not in a very gracious way, but because of some unfortunate situations, especially sannyasi. Madhuvisa's telegram was a resignation from the GBC. Although he wanted to continue in devotional service, he felt forced to resign due to spiritual weakness. The telegram gave no details, but Prabhupada heard rumors that Madhuvisa had an affair and had left the temple. Prabhupada said that this was his god brother's main argument against Westerners taking sannyas. They would not be able to maintain the strict vows. He said that a German god brother of his had also caused disruption by his intimate dealings with women. What can I do? Prabhupada said sadly. I am working with all third-class men, fools and rascals. Things are going on simply by Krishna's mercy. Prabhupada sent a telegram back asking Madhuvisa to come and speak with him. Although he restrained his emotions, the devotees could see that he was distracted. It was for a son who had rendered wonderful service, a disciple whom he had patiently trained over the years. Again, the possibility of Prabhupada retiring from active management looked doubtful. With all this, we can learn that what trouble, pain, difficulties Prabhupada went through, we are not even having peanuts of that, you know, not even that quantity. And still with little bit of here and there, if we get disturbed, then how we will progress in our Krishna consciousness? You know? How will progress? Here Prabhupada has had to deal with such big, big difficulties, you know, big, big difficulties. GBCs, temple presidents, sannyas, giving up sannyas. Giving up sannyas not only bring internal problem, but even external criticism. External criticism from his god brothers, from anti-ISKCON people and other people. So internal problem, and that brings external criticism. And with all this, Prabhupada had to go on at the ripe age of 75 to spread Krishna consciousness. And if we weigh our problems which we face in our practice of Krishna consciousness compared to that, it is nowhere. It's not like that. No, he's a disciple whom Prabhupada has trained for years and years, given him sannyas and is giving up. You know, just imagine what kind of trouble would be. And it's not like these are people whom Prabhupada is paying some salary and they are doing some service. You know, for someone to be on position of GBC, so much of training, relationship, faith, all these things are there. You know. See, in outside world, anybody who is running an institution any outside institution, any kind of trust, say NGO, which is not Krishna consciousness. So for NGO, he can hire a manager, he can hire a cook, he can hire all kinds of people to do the work of the NGO, and he can raise funds for the NGO, and he can pay for that, all the people whom he is hiring, designers, every kind of people, he can hire to make sure that his NGO goes well, and he pays them. And ISKCON is also NGO. We also have devotees and who are doing all variety of services. But what is the difference? The difference is that here everything is voluntary for Krishna. Everything is voluntary for the Krishna and for the philosophy what we have learnt. Here it's not for the sake of money, but everything is very voluntary. And we have this opportunity to serve. Now if out of our weakness or out of our ego or out of our problems, if we discontinue our service, we are the losers. We are the losers. Now we see here like devotees like Hayagriva Prabhu or Madhuvisa Swami left. Prabhupada called them back. Some of them at some point of time came back also. But because of Mahaprabhu's mercy, the ISKCON movement kept on growing. With some hurdles and with difficulties, because this is a special mercy of Mahaprabhu, the movement went on growing. So if we go away, if we don't want to do service nicely, it's not, of course, society gets affected, but it's that we are the one who lose, because Mahaprabhu's movement is there. It's going to go for 10,000 years. Lord is going to arrange someone for spreading this Sankirtan movement. It is not going to get stopped because someone chooses to go away. But we become losers. So we should very sincerely practice and face all difficulties, troubles, and go on practicing Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada said he was trying to engage fools, rascals, anyone to spread Krishna consciousness. He was unable to find strict followers, but what could be done? If someone fell from sannyas, he said, then that person could become a grihastha. But no one should go away. Hari Sari mentioned the Chaitanya Charitamrita story of Lord Chaitanya and Chota Haridas. From that story, said Hari Sari, it appeared to be very difficult for his fallen sannyasi to regain the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So we know the story of Chota Haridas who fell down and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected him. Devotees tried a lot for Mahaprabhu to accept him, but Mahaprabhu did not accept him. And then Chota Haridas went and gave up his life in Prayag, and later on he got a transcendental body, and he would still be in Jagannath Puri and sing, and Mahaprabhu could hear his singing. And Mahaprabhu appreciated his doing this activity because he was a sannyasi. And being a sannyasi, there is no return to grihastha. Brahmachari can become a grihastha goes to vanaprastha, but a sannyasi cannot come back. It's very, very shameful. So Hari Sari was Prabhupada's secretary and servant. He is asking, that's very difficult for a fallen sannyasi to get mercy of Lord Chaitanya. One who is fallen from sannyas, Prabhupada replied, is called Vantasi. One who vomits and then eats it. So if they become grihasthas again, then how can they get Lord Chaitanya's mercy? Asked Hari Sari. If the spiritual master gives that facility and makes that arrangement, said Srila Prabhupada, then Krishna will accept the arrangement. And later he can again become sannyas. It had happened before, and Prabhupada mentioned a few cases where he had asked fallen sannyasis to get married and stay in their service. Of course, it is a shameful position, he said, but what can be done? My god brothers and sannyasis in India criticize me for giving Brahman and sannyas initiation and installing deities in the West and allowing women to stay in the temples. But for all that, I am expanding Krishna consciousness. And for all the strictness, they are doing nothing. If I discriminate, then I will again be one alone, as I was in Vrindavan, and again become a mouse. So Prabhupada says that his god brothers, they are so strict, but what they are achieving by those strictness? Nothing is happening. And if I also become so strict, what will happen? And if I become so strict and everyone goes away, it is again become a mouse, again alone. So Prabhupada made an arrangement. What was that arrangement? That if any sannyasi falls down, then take up Grihastha ashram, and as a Grihastha ashram they can continue their service. Although it's very shameful, but that arrangement Prabhupada did. But compromise is not allowed. Arrangement and adjustments are allowed. What is compromise? That I can be a sannyasi and I can still continue my affairs. Such kind of compromise was never allowed. That I am a sannyasi and I have an affair. Or if I am a sannyasi and I am intermingling with women, I am not following rules and regulations. So Prabhupada never allowed such compromises, but he made adjustments. Adjustments like, okay, if we cannot continue as a sannyasi, so continue practicing Krishna consciousness as a grihastha and again later on take sannyas. So similarly, we have to understand that in our practice of Krishna consciousness, some adjustments can be done so that we can go on, but the compromise on principles cannot be done. Compromise means, okay, let him drink tea and he can continue his service. He can be a devotee. He can be called initiated disciple. Oh, let this guy break regulative principles and let them be a devotee. So such compromise is not allowed. Certain adjustments can be done so that one continue practicing Krishna consciousness. Like I was hearing to the memories of Harishori Prabhu, and he was Srutakirti Prabhu, and he was saying that as he was serving Srila Prabhupada, so they went to one of the temple, and Prabhupada went there. So Prabhupada was in his room, and Srutikirti Prabhu was in the servant's room, and at that time Srutikirti Prabhu was brahmachari. So Srutikirti Prabhu would only cook for Prabhupada. But to make sure that Srutikirti Prabhu's brahmachari is not disturbed, because if he goes and cooks in the regular kitchen where even so many Matajis come and cook, which won't be good for his brahmachari life, Prabhupada told the temple manager to do a whole setup of kitchen in the servant room. Whole setup of kitchen. So Prabhupada's cooking for Prabhupada, the whole setup was done in the small servant room. So Srutikirti Prabhu says there's hardly any space remaining for me to sleep. Because there was a brand new full-size fridge came and gas connection was made and all kitchen stuffs were kept because I have to cook for Prabhupada. And Prabhupada didn't want me to use the regular kitchen because Matajis come. And because of previous servant, he gave up because of same reason. He would kick in the regular kitchen with Matajis and he got into a relationship. He got married and he left Prabhupada's service as a servant. So Prabhupada didn't want to lose his another brahmachari servant, and he told to make a full kitchen setup in the servant room so that the servant can cook for him. Can you imagine how important it is, somebody who is a brahmachari, how important it is to maintain his brahmachari ashram. Such kind of compromise is not allowed. Okay, he can go and cook in the same kitchen with other Matajis and then fell down, prey to the sensuality and just gives us brahmachari ashram. But somebody is a brahmachari, Prabhupada always wanted him to continue brahmachari. He said, no, brahmachari ashram is the best ashram to progress fast in Krishna consciousness. So he made the whole arrangement, Srutikirti Prabhu says, for kitchen in his servant's room. So adjustments, so that one can peacefully continue Krishna consciousness. It seems, said Harishori, that it will take several generations before we can become purified. If one is sincere, Prabhupada replied, he can become purified even within one generation. The same evening, as Prabhupada prepared to stay up all night translating, he was still thinking of Madhuvisa. Nevertheless, he turned to translating the text in the chapter called The Elephant Gajendra's Crisis. And you can just imagine, Prabhupada got a telegram, this has happened, but his determination is still there that I have to write books. And he went on. We can learn from Prabhupada that whatever troubles come, we have to go on practicing Krishna consciousness, go on continuing regular programs. Keep the wheels moving. Keep the wheels moving. Whatever trouble comes, problem comes, up and down come, you have to just go through it and keep the wheels moving. Nevertheless, he turned to translating the text in the chapter called The Elephant Gajendra's Crisis. The chapter told about the king of elephants, Gajendra, who lived on the heavenly planets. One day, Gajendra was bathing in the river along with his wives, when suddenly a crocodile attacked. The crocodile fastened his jaws on Gajendra's legs, and although the elephant was being very powerful, he could not release himself from the strong grip of the crocodile while in the water. Thereafter, Srila Prabhupada dictated, because of being pulled into the water and fighting for many long years, the elephant became diminished in his mental, physical, and sensual strength. The crocodile, on the contrary, being an animal of the water, increased in enthusiasm, physical strength, and sensual power. I can do it very quickly, Prabhupada had said, but I have to meditate how to prepare it for the common man. How could he convey the significance of this event, which happened millions of years ago between two animals on a heavenly planet? How to make it clear and understandable and capture the essence of the significant Sanskrit words and the parampara comments of acharyas like Vishwanath Chakravarti, Sanatan Goswami, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. In the quiet solitude of his room, Srila Prabhupada began speaking his purport. In the fighting between the elephant and the crocodile, the difference was that although the elephant was extremely powerful, he was in a foreign place in the water. During 1000 years of fighting, he could not get any food, and under the circumstances, his bodily strength diminished, and because his bodily strength diminished, his mind also became weak and his senses less powerful. The crocodile, however, being an animal of the water, had no difficulties. He was getting food and was therefore getting mental strength and sensual encouragement. Thus, while the elephant became reduced in strength, the crocodile became more and more powerful. Now from this, we may take the lesson that in our fight with Maya, we should not be in a position in which our strength, enthusiasm, and senses will be unable to fight vigorously. Our Krishna consciousness movement has actually declared war against the illusory energy in which all the living entities are rotting in a false understanding of civilization. The soldiers in this Krishna consciousness movement must always possess physical strength, enthusiasm, and sensual power. To keep themselves fit, they must place themselves in a normal condition of life. What constitutes a normal condition will not be the same for everyone, Prabhupada continued. And therefore, there are divisions of Varnashrama, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanprastha, and Sannyas. Especially, what comes with this garland is a lot of red ants. Especially, in this age, Kali Yuga, it is advised that no one takes sannyas. So see Prabhupada, what situation was there in the daytime, in his purport, he is expressing that whatever makes you comfortable in Krishna consciousness, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanprastha, and sannyas, one should be in that situation and go on spreading Krishna consciousness so that he is enthusiastic, he is physically and sensually strong, and he can happily go on in Krishna consciousness. There is no question of saying that I will not practice Krishna consciousness, I will not practice. But whatever one can comfortably in his ashram, as a brahmachari, as a grihastha, enthusiastically go on practicing Krishna consciousness. There are always mental disturbances, Maya's attack, but being in association of devotees, as we are praying every day by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. What are we praying? Oh Lord, please engage me in your service. And Lord is sending us so many services. So we should very happily take up those services as a mercy of the Lord sent by Him and execute those services so we get more and more blessings of the Lord. From this we can understand that in this age the sannyas ashram is forbidden because people are not strong. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us an example in taking sannyas at the age of 24 years. But even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be extremely careful because he had taken sannyas at an early age. For preaching, we give young boys sannyas, but actually it is being experienced that they are not fit for sannyas. So Prabhupada being a sannyasi, it is important that because sannyasis are generally respected, and Prabhupada didn't want to wait for many years, so he created a team of sannyasis. All those were in their early 20s. When we are right now in a question in our life whether to become a brahmachari or grihastha, there's a question going on. There was a Prabhupada was making sannyasis of people of our age, knowing well that they are not fit, but he gave them an opportunity. He gave them an opportunity. Some of them took it up and followed it very seriously, like we have His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. And some of them could not take it up. They took the challenge, they took their opportunity, they tried with their full enthusiasm, but Maya attack was there. What is glorious is they accepted that proposal by Prabhupada and took up that challenge. Prabhupada personally gave them sannyas. So that is itself glorious that they were unfit, Prabhupada also realized, but by mercy of Prabhupada at least they gave a try, they gave a chance. There is no harm, however, if one thinks that it is unfit for sannyas. If he is very much agitated sexually, he should go to the ashram where sex is allowed, namely the grihastha ashram. That one has been found to be very weak in one place doesn't mean that he should stop fighting the crocodile of Maya. One should take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, as we shall see Gajendra do. And at the same time, one can be a grihastha if he is satisfied with sexual indulgence. So such adjustments were made. No compromise. Okay, the sannyasi, okay, you just have association of women and continue as a sannyasi. Those things are not allowed. But some adjustments were made. Okay, what could be made adjustments so that, what was the most important thing, that how you can continue your service in Krishna consciousness. That is the most important thing, how one can continue his significant service which one is giving in Krishna consciousness. And to able to continue whatever adjustments possibly can be done. Whatever adjustments can be done. So this is most important thing, that we all continue in our Krishna consciousness. And if we have any difficulty, problems, we discuss with our spiritual authorities, take some guidance, and again give a try to that guidance, try to follow those guidance, so that we can continue our services in Krishna, the spiritual master, and very strictly follows the order of the spiritual master. It is possible for him, everything is possible for him. But one should not give up fighting and go away. That is not allowed. One can discuss, find out the adjustments and arrangements and go on. From out of his direct confrontation with his forces of illusion, Srila Prabhupada presented his realizations. He had taken the case of Madhuvisha, refined it on its temporal aspects, and immortalized it into an instruction for persons everywhere. Prabhupada's job was to strengthen his disciples so they would not fall. Even if they took to the grihastha ashram, the crocodile of sense gratification was still very strong. And illicit sex was the permanent disease of the Western people. They were raised on it and addicted to it, and their society promoted it. To change this mentality would be very difficult. Therefore, in addition to writing, Prabhupada would have to continue traveling and preaching to sustain his disciples and make them strong preachers. See, we have to meditate on the situation. Of course, we know Prabhupada is a Saktavesh avatar, very powerful personality, but we have to meditate on the situations of what all situations Prabhupada was going through, and still maintaining the enthusiasm to spread Krishna consciousness far and wide. And then we have to see what all situations I am going through, whatever it may be, good and bad. And in that way we have to see when, as Acharya Prabhupada is teaching us that how in any situation, he went on practicing Krishna consciousness. There was nothing like that, he can just say, okay, too much done now, open the society, you see I am going now, I am going to Vrindavan, I am done. Till the time he had the strength, physical strength to travel, to meet, to guide, he never gave up his responsibility. He accepted disciples, so it is a responsibility now to guide the disciples, it is a responsibility now to correct them, to strengthen them, and he did that with all the disturbances. As Prabhupada originally left his writing at Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan to preach in the West, so he could leave his writing retreat in Hawaii for preaching. In Hawaii he was busy writing, so he could leave his writing retreat in Hawaii for preaching. In an ease, he was prepared to continue writing wherever he went. Although he had planned to stay in Hawaii only for a month, not permanently, his disciples needed to see him for strength and inspiration. And as long as he had life and breath, this was his purpose. So we can learn from Prabhupada his determination. He wanted to write, that's why he was in Hawaii. But seeing the situation of his disciples, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maiya ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Seeing the situation of his disciples, that they are losing in strength, they are losing enthusiasm, Srila Prabhupada gave a pause. Pause means that continue writing, but went on traveling till his life and breath supported him. Till his life and breath supported him. And along with wherever he went on writing. This is a powerful Acharya, and it's our great fortune that in the society of that Acharya we have got opportunities to offer services, to give some services. As I said, whatever services we are doing, all the services outside people are doing with money. And these services one can do better than us, more qualified people. But it is the mercy of an Acharya like Srila Prabhupada who has given us this opportunity to offer our skills, offer our strength, our body, our energy in the service of the movement, and in that way please the parampara, please the mission, devotees in the mission, and get their mercy so that we can be promoted to the spiritual planet. But we should not make ourselves fortunate by going away or by giving up or getting discouraged because of unfavorable situation. But we should count the blessings that because of all these good days I am in this situation where I am chanting 16 rounds, where I am following 4 good principles, where I could stay for so long with devotees. Now if there are some problems anytime, I should just wait, pray to the Lord, pray to Srila Prabhupada, read books, and wait. Again, when this attack of Maya will be over, again I will be enthusiastic. And always be in the shelter of the devotees. Devotee association is the most powerful thing which will keep us going on or drag us in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrata ki. Any questions, comments? So we read here that although there were Prabhupada disciples who left, hardly anyone complained about Prabhupada and left. As we read in today, that it was not that they complained, but because of their own difficulty in following, they left. Now if we see the scenario of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, Prabhupada maintained very, very personal standards, very, very high personal standards, and nobody could match it. And nobody could see any fault in Prabhupada. So they had no reason to say the problem in Prabhupada, that's why I am leaving. They all had their own problems to give. Because Prabhupada being a pure devotee and a powerful Acharya, one cannot see any faults in him. What faults is such a powerful Acharya and such an amazing personality. So they all had their reasons, own reasons to go. They could not point to Prabhupada or anyone. However, in current scenario, when we are serving in multi-level management structure, where there are so many managers, so many authorities, and naturally, not everyone is very pure, and one can see faults in the dealings of the superiors or authorities, and it can be very visible fault. So one may find it very difficult, I see him only doing so many mistakes, what I will surrender to him. And one can think, I do better sadhana than him. All these things can come, and one can see more faults in the spiritual managers and authorities, and one may find it very difficult to go and reveal his mind, because we say he should come and reveal his mind. I see he has so many problems, he should come and reveal. Because of time he is senior, I am junior, but according to the action I feel I am better. So yeah, it is very difficult in current scenario to go and put faith and reveal the mind. It's very, very difficult. Somebody is very fortunate. Being very fortunate may get such nice spiritual authorities where one can go and reveal his mind with full faith and get guidance so that he can continue his progress in Krishna consciousness. So those who are very fortunate, they get this opportunity. Otherwise, it also again becomes cheater and cheated business. Inside also sometimes. So many red ants came today with the garland. We have to not hang the garland there. I think so many ants are walking, red ants. Some of them died also during the class. So, it's very difficult. I agree with you. Because the fault-finding tendency is so much strong in Kali Yuga, and day by day it is so much increasing. And because of our so much of material knowledge and skills, it is very easy. And when there is so much of fault-finding, if I see faults and mistakes, how can I go and open my heart? Because I myself seeing so many faults and this thing, so it's very difficult. So how to develop? One is seeing so much of faults and mistakes, how he will develop? It's very difficult. Now, if one has unflinching faith in the parampara, and one sees himself that I am very fallen and you useless, then one can go, and even if he sees faults, he will express his heart thinking that maybe Lord will make this person as an instrument to help me. And if not this, then some other superior Lord will make that person instrument to help me. So first step is one has to himself be very, very, cultivate that feeling of lowness or humility, that I am full of faults and I have so much of mistakes and I have problems. One has to say that I have problems and I need to go and open my heart and not see their problems, but see something good is there in them. That's why Krishna has put them in that position. Nothing is happening without the will of the Lord. So if Lord has put them in a position of management or my spiritual master or whatever, anything superior to me, and Krishna has put me in that position subordinate to him, then there must be something must be there. So I have full faith in parampara, I have full faith in the words of the acharyas, like what Rupa Goswami says. So I go and express my heart or my feelings, and then when something is given, I accept that and follow it. And we see how it goes ahead. It's difficult otherwise. Because of the fault-finding tendency, it's very difficult. It's very easy when one has that humility and feeling that I need help, I need support, I need mercy, I need blessings, I need guidance. When one always feels that I need these things, then one can really have that mood to go and with full trust express his heart and ask for the guidance, and irrespective of apparently seeing faults in him. So first one has to work on themselves of getting that feeling, and then go and express or find out whom we find faultless and express them. The question is that sometimes we come from very, very sinful background, you don't feel you are alone, I am also with you. So very, very sinful background, and then it becomes very, when we take up and we understand, okay, this is the purpose of life and the philosophy is very clear, then we want to do some austerity and sadhana, and then devotees say, oh, you are doing so much extra sadhana, so what to do?
How to
Deal.
explain them that I need more sadhana.
Yeah.
Because you are
So we have to first see, there's a verse by, I don't know who spoke, Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yogam. What is the next line? Sichartha Ekam Purusha Purana Shri Chaitanya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari. I don't remember. Huh? Okay, this is a verse. So it says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why did he come? Two things, Vairagya Vidya, Nij Bhakti. To teach devotion to Krishna, Nij Bhakti, how to do own bhakti. And Vairagya Vidya. Vairagya Vidya means? Vairagya Vidya, renunciation, renounced. Vairagya Vidya, Nij Bhakti Yogam. Two things. To perform bhakti, how to perform one's Krishna's bhakti, Nij Bhakti, and Vairagya Vidya. So it's very good if somebody has developed a mood of renounced mood, and he wants to do sadhana, he wants to chant more, we should encourage and not force him to chant less or eat sweets or eat more if doesn't want to do. But one should be also, so this, anybody who wishes to increase his dose of Krishna consciousness, there is no problem. Well, it should not be discouraged. Should not be discouraged. But that all should be done in guidance with their spiritual mentors or their spiritual guide. Because it has also been observed that sometimes devotees have taken artificially lot of austerities. Of course, even if one takes temporarily some austerity and falls down, there is no loss. Because of doing some austerity and doing more sadhana, he has made some spiritual advancement certainly. But it was very, very on the level of artificial and not very natural. Then sometimes it also happens that he goes away, or sometimes he may develop a mood of pride. Like you see, who was that rishi inside the water? The water. He said that outside about disturbance, he went inside the water to do tapasya. And there also he saw two fishes mating, and he developed the desire for sense gratification. But why this desire came? Because he did Vaishnava Aparadha. What was that Vaishnava Aparadha? He offended Garuda. And because of that Vaishnava Aparadha, he went. But because he did so much of devotion, he didn't continue long in his householder life. After being in householder life for some time, immediately he thought, "Arey, what I am doing? I was supposed to do tapasya, and where did I come?" Then again he left householder life and again took sannyas and again continued. So, while doing austerity, one of the biggest danger is a sense of pride. I am doing so much, I am getting up, I am chanting 64 rounds, These guys are suffering, they are sleeping in japa also. So this we should be careful. Doing austerity, sadhana, living a renounced life is not a problem. But when such thing creates a pride in the mind, that becomes a big problem. And that then kicks us out of Krishna consciousness. So one thing is this, that when I am doing any kind of austerity, or I have taken up voluntarily some rules and regulations, like in Purushottam Math, some of you may be eating only once, some of you may be chanting more rounds, someone of you might have given up sweets, whatever. Some of you might have taken some vows. That's good. But you take vow to judge yourself, don't judge others with your vows, I have taken a vow of eating only 2 chapatis. This guy is eating 3 chapatis. What kind of person is this? Purushottam Math is eating 3 chapatis. So that is not good. That is a pride. That is, then we are going into the zone of Vaishnava Aparadha and we will be kicked out completely. With our austerities will be out. So that is first thing, that we should be very careful. Such austerities sometimes becomes intoxication for us. So when we do austerity, we should understand, I am doing because I am so low, I need it. And I should not judge others with my austerities or my tapasya. And when other devotees come and tell, we say, no, I just want to do it. It will be helpful for me. But if the devotee said, Prabhu, your service is this. I say, so no, but I want to chant. I say, you are chanting, that's why Krishna sent this service to you. So do your service also. So we cannot say, on the name of the austerities, I will not do my service. This is again another wrong zone. because I have to do my austerities, I have to do my tapasya. Now today is Ekadashi, I am Nirjala, so I have to just take rest because I cannot torture my body anymore. So this is then useless, and better we take prasadam and engage ourselves full day in the service of the Lord, practical services. And slowly, slowly, the body will force you also to become more renounced because diseases will come, restrictions will come, so you cannot do also. Naturally, sleep will become less. This also becomes a natural part of the body. So those who are not doing austerities, no need to worry. You have your natural lifestyle in Krishna consciousness, whatever you eat, whatever you have, regular time of sleeping and getting up, and go on doing your services. We should not compare with others. We should take inspiration from others and compare with ourselves. Take inspiration from others' devotional standards. Take inspiration and compare with ourselves. Okay, earlier I was getting up at 4 a.m., now I am getting up at 3:30 a.m. Compare from ourselves, not for others. Oh, I am getting up at 4 a.m., but he is getting at 4:10 and he is able to manage. So I will also try that. I will get up at 4:10. I will also learn to manage. That is not needed. We have to take inspiration from those who are doing better than me. Take inspiration. So those who want to do more austerities, we should not discourage, and we should not go and target and torture them or comment on or sarcastic on their austerities, but should take inspiration. Oh, this devotee is so wonderful. He is not wasting his time in prajalpa. He is chanting. He is so nicely following. He never says no in his services. He is always willing to do all kind of services. So we should take inspiration from others. And somebody is doing austerities, we should not go and discourage. Vairagya Vidya, Mahaprabhu came here to teach us Vairagya Vidya. Vairagya Vidya means to become, and then Rupa Goswami says Yukta Vairagya. You use everything Krishna service, don't become attached to anything. If it is there, fine. If it is not there, not fine. It's not that, no, okay, only when I will have MacBook, then only you can expect me to do my service, otherwise forget it, Whatever is there, Prabhupada said, using the best of the bad bargain. So that's how. So now if I am doing some austerities and devotees come and tell me, hey Prabhu, you are so tapasvi and you are so austere, give me your mercy, I also can do some austerities. So you tell him, no, you are doing so wonderful services, you should bless me so that I can learn. And we all need blessings of Prabhupada. So that's it. Sometimes we have to tolerate. If you are doing austerity and people come and glorify, then what to do? That is true. You are doing austerity and people will glorify. So what to do? Tolerate that glorification. Because sometimes people will come and they will criticize also. Isn't it? They will criticize also. So what to do? Tolerate it. At the same time, we should understand in our mind that, who am I actually? I am so fallen that whatever I am doing is actually, I should do much more. And we can counter-glorify the Acharyas, saying that what we are doing is nothing. You see what Prabhupada has done. In that way, cut off the glorification by glorifying the Acharyas. Pass on into the Acharyas, pass it on to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Or tell him, okay, sit down, I will tell you my Leelas. Then you will understand who was I. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was glorifying Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. Immediately they counteracted. We are the Neech Jati, Neech Sangi, Adhama. We are the most fallen people. We have associated with the most fallen Malachas. We are the lowest among the mankind. Immediately Sanatana Goswami counteracted the glorification done by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by telling all these words. So these are the ways. We pass on the glorification immediately to Acharyas, glorify them, glorify the previous Acharyas, or we immediately tell Neech Jati, Neech Sangi, Adhama, who am I, what all I have done. And in that way we keep ourselves safe from the intoxicating glorifications, because Maya is very strong and it comes in any way. It can come in the form of pride because of my services, glorifications and all those things. So one should be very careful. That's why it is said, as we should never glorify conditioned souls. It's okay sometimes for inspiration, but we should never glorify conditioned souls, because that intoxicates. It is harmful for the conditioned soul himself. Such glorification intoxicates. Okay, Sumit Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So we'll stop here.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama,